service. Ellen Rainville couldn't be with us tonight, but she did leave me some words that I'd like to share. That Judy has been a gracious, welcoming, and cheerful presence at the library circulation desk for over 22 years, and she has served as our most recent homebound librarian, making personal deliveries to elder or incapacitated pet patrons. And she retires on January 5th and will be sorely missed. So congratulations to Judy. We do have a certificate of appreciation from the select board for her. The next is we'd like to give congratulations to Pam McNiff, who is currently the project procurement specialist in the town manager's office, for her 11 years of service with the town manager's office and the recreation department. Pam is moving on to a different career path, so we wish her well. She's been an instrumental person both in recreation and then in the town manager's office. Does so much for the select board as well on a day-to-day basis. So want to wish her well and her thanks. Her last day will be January 2nd, and she will be missed as well.
We are so grateful to have the service of Judy and Pam during the time that you be with us. So thank you to those two. Any other open forum items from the board tonight?
Just a quick thanks to all the staff that's out there, not just these two that we just recognized, but all the staff for a great year. I mean, we're at the end of the year, and I think it's been a tremendous one. So many project achievements and other accolades that you guys have done and achieved. It's amazing the amount of work. So pat on the back to the team, because really impressive.
It's been an immense amount of work.
Yeah.
Please share our appreciation with
I will.
staff for a good year.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any other items? Any other items from the public for open forum tonight? Okay, we'll move on to our 535 item, which is a request for a change of manager on a Mass General License 13812, all alcohol beverages club license at the Club Franco-American in Westford, located at 55 West Prescott Street. The proposed manager is Jennifer Raymond. And before we have any questions,
so we got word from them that they wanted to withdraw their application. Okay. The manager has resigned, and they will be back with a different course of action. I just got that information, so apologies for not sharing that in advance.
Okay, we'll jump ahead to the next one. Request for a change of liquor license Sunday hours on a Mass General License 13812, beer and wine license at JJ's Place, located at 223 Groton Road. The proposed change would allow service of beer and wine at 10 a.m. I guess first off, is everything in order for their request?
Everything is in order. The clerk's office has signed off on this, and I believe there's a representative from JJ's here in the room.
Good. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here in Westford. Any questions from the board? Okay, doesn't look like there are any. Any questions from the public? Okay, there being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the change of liquor license Sunday hours.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you for being having your business here in Westford.
Yeah.
Next up is the 545 item, which is a joint meeting with the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee for an update and request from the committee to support the application for technical assistance grant for the municipal building decarbonization planning, and we welcome our valiant chair, Mike Berlinski, joined by Tom Teller.
Great. We also have Andrea Parent-Sweet, who is on our climate leader working group as well, Beth Perkins as well. So we actually have 4 folks on our working group. They may all wish to speak tonight. And as having a joint meeting, we'll check for quorum. So I think we do have 4 in the room. So not yet in the room, but maybe if we also have online. So if we could check online.
I don't have anyone online from Clean Energy.
Okay.
Right.
So we don't have a quorum of 5. We don't have that at the time. So we are.
Actually, Ms. Perkins just.
Oh, great. There's Beth. Just in time. Okay. So with that, we have a quorum of Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee. So we'll start the joint meeting. So we'll call the Clean Energy Sustainability Committee into session.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
And welcome to all your colleagues.
Great, thanks. So again, as I said, we're here with our Climate Leaders Working Group. We do have a presentation I would like to go through. The working group involves myself, Tom Teller, Andrea Parent-Sweet, and Beth Perkins. And we've been working on this for a while. We actually have two items with our presentation. One, to give a brief update on our activities, because it's been a while since we presented to the select board. It's been a few years. And also to really focus on the Massachusetts Climate Leader Community Program and our recommendation that Westford strive for eligibility in that program. So the presentation.
We are having some sharing issues. Let me
Okay.
just try one more time.
Yep.
There you go. Should come up in a moment.
Ooh,
Great,
all right.
thank you. Yeah, so you can go to the second slide once that comes up. So again, in addition to general activities, we'll talk a lot about the Climate Leader Community Program. What we're looking for is from the Select Board is really direction. For our committee and for the staff, does it make sense to pursue this status and all the pieces that go with it? One of the things prompting the timing is we recommend we apply for a state grant to provide assistance to go achieve this Climate Leader Community status. The grant, the next grant deadline would be in March, and the grant says when you apply for this, you would be committing to getting eligibility for the whole Climate Leader program. So that's why it's really a bundle package. And so the other pieces that go with Climate Leader Community status would be a municipal fleet policy, a municipal building roadmap, and adoption of the specialized energy code, which would be done by town meeting. So that's really why it's sort of a bundle package of items for you to consider. And we would recommend that Westford strive for Climate Leader Community status by December 2026. So that would be that time frame to consider. Okay, so next slide. So first, an update on CASC, what we've been up to. Over the last several years, we've been working on our top municipal priorities. These are generally the same as we presented to the Select Board back in the summer of 2023. There's generally 3 of them focused on municipal buildings and municipal fleets. On the building side, it's really pursuing energy efficiency to the extent possible. A couple of years ago, we were pursuing an investment grade audit. We are generally on that same direction, but not on that exact path. So really what this has become is just pursuing all the energy efficiency projects that we can. And we would say that town staff have done a great job of pursuing a lot of projects in the municipal building sectors and leveraging a variety of funding sources to do so. So I think that that's going well. We've interacted with those projects through a variety of ways, collaborating through capital planning efforts, through town meeting when they come before voters. Also on solar is we identify sites in the municipal building sector for solar systems. We have had just one solar system on the Stony Brook Middle School. We're very excited that the Blanchard Middle School solar project has been progressing. And we acknowledge that in addition to just identifying solar projects in the municipal sector, we should collaborate on solar zoning. And so that's something that we've added to our work plan, and we plan to engage with Planning Board, Land Use Department on that next year. So that's the second piece. And then the third is really working on the fleets to continue to transition the municipal fleet to more electric vehicles. And also we acknowledge the importance of providing appropriate charging infrastructure to support those vehicles. So we've collaborated on a number of individual items, again, often through capital planning and town meeting, but then also working on different initiatives around the charging infrastructure. So in addition to those top municipal priorities, we've been working on other projects. In the municipal buildings, we've collaborated on a number of building projects. I think the library project is a really good example, working on both the design, different boards and committees, and now the implementation. That includes the electric vehicle charging infrastructure design for that project. Also supporting the Westford Power Options Program, or POP. This is our municipal electric aggregation program, where most of the residents and customers are enrolled to have lower cost of electricity service. Tom Teller is actually our committee lead on that, and so provides a lot of support to that program and all the customers who engage in that. So Tom, maybe you could give some examples of some of the work you do on that project, because we've gone through a couple renewals of the POP program, and those are times when a lot of hands-on work is needed for that program.
And now is such a time. You may remember that the prior contract, which was a 2-year contract, went through November of this year, and the new contract began with the November meter read. It's for the period from the November meter read to the December meter read, so that would be the first time under the new contract rates. With 7,800 POP accounts in town, it would be difficult to imagine or hope for all 78 would transition smoothly, and they didn't. But we've stayed on top of it, and at this point, we've identified that there are about 228 accounts, current Westford POP enrollments who are continuing in Westford POP, whose rate did not roll over properly. And we've been working with Good Energy and the energy supplier Constellation New Energy to make sure that those are made good. They're pursuing them. There's one more meter read date yet to come before we finalize. We say that we know who the 228 are. We know who the 228 are. Whether there are any more with the last date in the cycle remains to be seen. But all parties have already agreed that those accounts would be made whole and credits would be applied to those accounts which were initially billed at the prior contract rate. It's good news in terms of the change in contract. The electricity prices are going down by about $0.015 for the POP Standard or POP Basic, and by 2 cents per kilowatt hour, which can really add up, for the POP Gold. And this is also a great time to sign up for POP Gold. They call it Opt Up in the world of electric aggregation, because there's only a penny difference between POP Standard, which is 73% renewable, and POP Gold, which is 100% renewable, and going forward. I will also steal a few moments to talk about the heat pump rate, which is just coming online with this month. So any homes who have heat pumps that they use for heating, doesn't have to be a 100% heat pump, just if you have a heat pump installed, then you should enjoy that rate. And you can identify that by looking at one line of the surprisingly simple and straightforward National Grid bill to identify that. But under the supplies, under the delivery services, and that's what National Grid does and what they bill us for every month, the first line under just the $10 flat fee per account is something that they call distribution charge. I don't know what that means. But if you're receiving the heat pump rate from now through April, that will be 5.005 cents per kilowatt hour instead of 2.5 cents more than that. If you have not yet installed heat pumps in your home.
Great, thanks, Tom. So those are some good examples of how we as members of the committee, support residents and businesses in terms of providing information about what programs and energy options there are in town. After we presented to you in June 2023, in May 2024, we first recommended that Westford opt to become a Massachusetts Climate Leader community. The program was rolling out then. This would be to support our environmental goals and to be eligible for additional state funding. So we met with town staff, town manager's office. They had some questions and some concerns. And so we've been working on that for the last year and a half, and that's why we hadn't been to you yet to make that formal recommendation and seek guidance. But now we think now is a good time to do so. So you can, next slide. So now focusing on that Climate Leader community program, Some of the benefits, it does align with the town's climate roadmap, environmental goals, and the strategic plan with its environmental sustainability strategic outcome area. And it does provide access to additional state funds. Primarily, there are grants, including one up to $1 million to engage in energy reduction and cost savings projects. So it really is a level up from the current Green Community Program, which Westford is currently a member of. There are relatively more funds available in this Climate Leader Community Program than in the Green Community Program. You see there's almost 300 cities and towns that are a green community, so there's sort of more competition for the funds that the state has set aside for that. The Climate Leader Community Pool is smaller, but up to 28 cities and towns are Massachusetts Climate Leader Community, including some of our neighbors, Acton, Carlisle, and Chelmsford. Again, this is similar to the Green Community Program, which is familiar, and Westford could follow the lead of other communities to pursue this designation. And we would say there's big benefits for not big cost, because the town would be enhancing existing commitments for environmental sustainability and really not have to introduce anything too unfamiliar in Westford. Next slide. So something that is new in the Climate Leader Community Program is the funds. About a year ago, there were $60 million initially set aside, and just last month there was the initial major awards of these grants in the Climate Leader Community Program. There were $3.7 million awarded, went to Acton, Ashfield, Chelmsford, and Watertown, and these were to fund energy savings, renewable energy projects that reduce cost as well. So you see Acton and Chelmsford each received $1 million to support municipal building enhancements. Acton will work on their town hall, Chelmsford will work on 2 fire stations, and Watertown and Ashfield each received almost $1 million to install solar systems, which will also save them costs. So this is, I would say, evidence that Westford is falling behind its peers in that Westford is not a climate leader community, so not eligible for these funds, which our peers have now taken advantage of. Okay, so next slide. So what does it take to become a Massachusetts climate leader? There are 6 requirements, and Westford has already met 3 of them. So first, we have to be a green community in good standing, and we are. Town staff have done a great job of maintaining eligibility and actually going after the state grants and receiving them and putting them to good work. But again, Climate Leaders is the next level up for that, but we do meet one of the requirements in being a green community. Have a local body that advises the municipality on clean energy and environmental issues, and the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee meets that requirement. So we're good there. And the third would be municipal decarbonization commitment. Now, what DOER writes for this requirement is a commitment to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by 2050. We've spoken with DOER, and what they say they really mean is a net zero commitment in the municipal sector. So to us, those are very different requirements. I would say it's unfortunate that the writing is one thing, but what is acceptable is different. But we do have DOER affirming that what Westford currently has, which is the net zero goal by 2050 as adopted by town meeting, and our climate roadmap, which has been endorsed by the select board as a good guide for Westford to achieve its goal, would meet that requirement. So we're halfway there. The 3 items that are outstanding would be a zero emission vehicle first policy, municipal decarbonization roadmap, and adopting the specialized energy code. So now we can go into a little more detail about those pieces. First, the timeline. Massachusetts accepts applications for Climate Leader Community twice a year in June and December. So our current goal would be to have Westford eligible in December 2026. The timeline is here we are briefing the select board and discussing with town manager's office. In March would be the next grant application for technical assistance to help achieve that Climate Leader Community status. Also in March would be annual town meeting, which is when we've recommended the specialized energy code go for adoption. And then also there would be select board and school committee endorsement of the EV policy and the decarbonization roadmap. And then finally, by the end of the year, we hope there would be the Climate Leader Community application for eligibility. Okay, so next slide. So now a little bit on each of the three outstanding pieces. For the zero emission vehicle first policy, it's really a policy to replace the vehicles as they come up for replacement and transition from fossil fuel to low or zero emission vehicles. This is really focused on that schedule over time, and it acknowledges that, and it does have some exemptions for certain kinds of vehicles. There would be a requirement to maintain an inventory of the fleet. This is already a requirement under green communities that we acknowledge. And not only a plan to replace the vehicles, but also to have the charging infrastructure to support them. There is a hierarchy, and it goes from battery electric vehicles or fully electric to plug-in hybrids to some more traditional hybrid vehicles. And then finally, the lowest priority would be for fossil fuel vehicles. So Tom, as you're our lead on vehicles and charging infrastructure, is there anything you want to highlight on this?
I think that's a pretty good summary. I've been working with Mike Edwards to accomplish this. The Westford participates in the National Grid FASP fleet, something other words that go with FASP, but it's assistance from National Grid in fleet planning. And so we take our current inventory that is recorded already in our reporting instruments and look for opportunities to, as vehicles are retired, to look at an opportunity for how we can replace that. And it doesn't necessarily mean going EV. For example, I met with the fire chief and deputy chief just recently. They have a requirement that they're putting in the capital plan. They recommended a specific vehicle to meet their use case. This is a response vehicle, not just a drive around town vehicle. And we met and we went, they actually did a superb job of analyzing the options and what would make most sense for them. And the vehicle that they selected, which I think is a very good choice given their use case, is a diesel Chevy Tahoe. Again, it's a response vehicle. It has to be able to go to scene 24/7, and so they have to carry a lot of gear. And so that's the vehicle that makes the most sense for that. And it does save, and that's the fourth tier of the zero EV first policy. Its fuel consumption numbers are considerably better than the vehicle that it's replacing. And so that even meets that. And so it shows some flexibility in that policy. But we need to work on that, and we need to standardize the charging infrastructure that we use both to offer to the public and also to support municipal uses. And we're making good progress on doing that.
Great, thanks, Tom. So next slide. The second outstanding piece is a municipal decarbonization roadmap. And this is a plan that really focuses on the timing of planned expenses, both buildings and fleets, to prioritize elimination of carbon emissions in the municipal sector. What this roadmap would involve, there is a standard from the state, and we have examples of other communities to have an executive summary, an emissions baseline, and it would leverage data from the Mass Energy Insight, which is the energy database that we use in the municipal sector, and have a narrative that focuses on, one, the near-term actions and goals, and also long-term actions and goals. And again, would cover the buildings and the fleets, and really try to prioritize getting the biggest bang for the buck there. And again, we think there would be required action by the select board and the school committee to endorse such a roadmap. Okay, and Beth, as our lead on the decarbonization roadmap, is there anything you wanted to add?
Well, I think what we've talked about before is we don't want this to be a separate plan that sits on a shelf and talks about one timeline where our town would have separate planning process for its capital projects, etc. So there are studies right now, as you're all aware, that are being done of our buildings. And we believe this is a good time to mesh those plans with the decarbonization plan. So when you're putting on a new roof, you're looking at solar. When you have equipment on that roof, you're looking at electrification. And you're basically merging your current plans with the decarbonization.
Great, thanks. So next slide. So the third outstanding piece would be adopting the Massachusetts Specialized Energy Code. As you may remember, this did go to the last spring town meeting. It did not pass. It was a narrow vote of failure, though. But this is similar to but different from the stretch code, which is currently in effect as we are a green community. And it really focuses on further incentivizing high performance standards, energy efficiency, and solar. It does incentivize all electric buildings, but it does not totally require them. There is flexibility. There are multiple paths to compliance. So you can go all electric or you can go mixed fuel and still meet the specialized energy code. Also noting that it only applies to new construction, unlike the stretch code, which does apply to renovations as well. So I think there is some limited instances where the specialized code would be triggered with new construction in town. It would be both municipal and non-municipal sectors. To date, 56 communities representing about a third of the state population have adopted the specialized code, including some of our neighbors with Acton, Carlisle, and Chelmsford. So in the past, there have been some concerns around this specialized code adoption related to limited electric grid capacity and additional building costs. We've done analysis over the last year that shows that the specialized energy code adoption does not harm the current situation where we've had with limited electric grid capacity. There have been a couple large multifamily housing developments in the MBTA communities zone. There was the Powers Road project and the Littleton Road project at the Regency site. And because there were two large load developments on the same circuit, National Grid said that the second one couldn't interconnect as designed, so that has gone into additional study. But the specialized energy code emphasizes energy efficiency and solar energy, which actually reduce peak load. And so they don't make the limited grid capacity issue that we have in that corridor worse. It actually would make it better. So we think that that's not a reason to avoid adopting the specialized energy code with that situation. Also understand on cost. The work we've done identified that there generally is limited cost impact. There may be some additional upfront costs for more energy efficient buildings, but then generally there's lower operating costs because you have better efficiency in those systems. So Andrea is our lead on specialized energy code. Andrea, do you want to add anything?
Oh, I think you did a great job.
Okay, thanks. So next slide. So those are the three outstanding pieces, and we would recommend going after them in order to get this grant, state grant for assistance to get the climate leader package. And this grant, the next deadline would be in March. The last one was in November. We did not make that, so we would recommend the next deadline. And we would first decide on one of two options to pursue. Since we think we already have a lot of good data on our buildings, we would create a plan leveraging the data on Mass Energy Insight and to provide this decarbonization roadmap for the municipal sector. Again, it would involve both buildings and fleets. Because this grant does require you commit to becoming climate leader community within a year, the other pieces of the grant application are the additional pieces for the climate leader community status. And the grant detail is on combis with other state grants. So Beth, is there anything else you want to highlight on the grant that we've recommended?
No, other than the work required to apply for the grant is very minimal. The work, of course, would kick in once we've received the grant, and the grant is for consulting help. So the state DOER would provide consultants that would help write that decarbonization roadmap.
Great, thanks. Okay, and next slide. So this is our last slide. So again, we appreciate your attention and interest, and we're looking for direction. Does it make sense to, with town staff, apply for this assistance grant for climate leader status? With it, we'd be committing to pursue climate leader community designation. And again, that involves the fleet, buildings, and adopting the specialized energy code, which would be done by town meeting. And we would recommend for Westford to achieve this target, achieving this status by the end of December 2026. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. Happy to take questions and hear your comments.
Great, well, I'm going to go to the board for questions in a second, but first I just wanted to thank you and your committee for doing such exceptional work and being so supportive. I was just looking at our town strategic plan, and what you're working on is just really closely aligned with what we've taken on for the town. I know that's not by accident. I know you were part of generating the strategic plan, so it's all by design. But we are in a process of inviting many of the committees to come and check in with us and sort of talk about where they are. And this committee is just exceptionally well aligned with what we're trying to do with the town. So I appreciate that. Let me go to questions from the board. Yeah, Kristen.
So, considering this does align so well with our strategic plan, Kristen, do you see any challenges with staff supporting the asks of this committee?
So in terms of applying for climate leaders, is that specific?
There's a lot of things there.
There are a lot of things, yeah.
So
So-
that's why I was make sure we have staff capacity.
So in terms of applying for the grant, we don't see any issues with staff capacity. We know that the Clean Energy Committee has done a lot of the legwork and has a lot of the materials already prepared. We would have to take some time to review it, but in our pre-meeting before this, we are committed to helping them apply, or helping the town apply by the March 28th deadline, 27th deadline for we have a March 28th town meeting. We also are trying to do our best to align our staff to be able to come out with the best possible decarbonization roadmap using all of the studies that we've done in the past, being the SMMA report for the schools, the Tecton report that you'll hear more about on January 13th, and the other items. So what we really want to focus on between now and the grant application period is making sure the scope of services aligns with our needs for the capital plan moving forward and aligns with the needs of the Clean Energy Committee and this grant. So that's where we see most of the energy going in towards. And with anything, managing a consultant takes time and energy, so we want to make sure that we have that capacity as well. Related to the fleet, we have asked the Clean Energy Committee to come up with that initial plan for our review. So we've agreed that they would craft that, and then we would be reviewing it and then bringing it to council just to make sure that aligns with legal obligations, and then bringing it to the board. And then related to the specialized energy code, our current building inspector is familiar with that code. He worked in a previous community with that. We are going to reach out to some communities just to see what the workload was or was not, just for our baseline. We don't, if the board does want to put that on the warrant, we don't foresee any issues.
Great, thank you.
You already spoke to this. Any other questions before I jump into mine? Yeah, John.
Yeah, Mike, you talk about the $1 million grants that you're going for. What investment from the town does that require? Is there any sense of what the investment from the town would be to get that kind of a grant? And what does that really cover in your experience, or at least what you've looked at?
Yeah, good question. I don't know the details. I would think it would be very similar to the green community grants that Westford has applied and received. I don't know. I would defer to the town staff if they reviewed the climate leader community grants, such as the ones that were recently awarded, and see if they differ from the green community grants. But they are for a similar project, so I would think they would involve similar work. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of what investment it would take from the town. On the fleet, of course, I think the infrastructure has to come before the fleet. And if I read the DOER stuff correctly, they're kind of in a position of judging whether or not we're complying with that. And they use words like practicality or practicable, and that's a judgment call. So if we're doing something and working through that, do we have to kind of get the coordination with DOER when we're buying these vehicles? As far as, you know, we're supposed to be doing the electrical vehicle first, and then we run down the ladder depending on what works for us.
Yeah, good question, Tom. Do you know how involved DOER is on vehicle purchasing decision versus they approve or reject our plan when we apply to become a climate leader?
Yeah, I've spoken to two officials from two towns who are involved, who have implemented this policy and are currently climate leaders. And So it's anecdotal, right? 2 towns. They're 2 towns that are not dissimilar to ours. And what they tell me is that the DOER has not been involved in any individual decisions. It's really on the plans and policy side. And what they would be doing is to check that the town is following what it said it was, the commitments it said it was going to do in adopting the EV policy first, EV first policy. And I'm working with those to help to craft our policy so that it is consistent with the DOER requirements, that they've said, yes, this looks right, and that it meets our town's needs. There's still a lot of work to be done there, but
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing that concept of operations. It says, how are we going to operate the police fleet? How are we going to operate the rest of the town fleet? And how many vehicles that really applies to versus how many it doesn't apply to. I have one other comment. I want to commend you for what you've done on that POP program. I think you guys have done a tremendous lot of work there. And it's shown some really good results, and the citizens should be grateful for that. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to add on to John's question, I'd also be interested to see for one of these big grants, just sort of a breaking it apart. The home run would be it funds something we probably couldn't have done otherwise, and it has this ongoing energy savings benefit, which benefits the planet, benefits, we can redirect towards other important services. So that would be the home run, but it'd be interesting just to talk with someone who's actually gone through one of those and did they have to put up half of the matching funds out of their capital fund, just to understand what we would be getting into, I guess. So if that's something you could take on, that'd be great. If it's something that you're already running across Mike, that would be great too.
I mean, it operates at a different scale, but similar to Green Communities Now, there typically isn't a requirement for a match. It does make you more competitive if you have a match. But with a Green Communities grant, if we wanted to go for the max of 125, we could find a project that's 125 and do that. In our case, we went a little bit higher and used that to supplement another project, but really just depends on the scale of the project. There's no requirement for a match.
Okay, good, thanks, Mike.
So Tom, we can do some research on what, John asked, what the grant requires and whatever is publicly available from communities. Like I saw Acton put out some press about this $1 million grant, but I would recommend probably better for town staff to talk to other town staff to get the details that they would need. So I don't want to sign up for a committee to getting all the information that town staff would really need to assess how much effort, how much cost implications of a state grant.
Okay, yeah, understood. I mean, I don't think it affects my position or my thought on this right now, but it'd be useful just because understanding the shape of them would be helpful. Sean, I think.
Yeah,
Figure
briefly. Thanks, Tom. So just a quick comment, which is that I'm for this. I appreciate the presentation. I think it's tremendously thorough. All the questions that I had were already answered, except I guess my concern would be around number 6, which is the specialized energy code, right? It's already been a town meeting. There was already a discussion as to it and it failed. That said, I feel like a lot of the concerns for it or surrounding it were legit about whether or not this will impact developers coming in, and because that's something that's also a priority as far as to have more development in town, right? And have good commercial partners and neighbors coming in. I would just make a suggestion that we have concrete examples of other towns and successes that they've had, even though they have adopted the specialized energy code, that they've still been able to do large-scale projects, particularly on the commercial side, so we can address concerns of residents to number 6. I'd hate for us to go through this whole process and end up in the exact same spot because of town meeting. So that's my comment.
Sure, understand. Could I just check with some folks, Beth and Andrea, as our leads on the specialized energy code, anything to respond to Sean's point about examples and experience?
I can get out to come.
Yeah, please come on to the mic.
want my chair.
No, that's okay, I can stay. It's
Sean, I've identified an issue that we've also talked about. You know, we recognize that that was one of the major issues that was brought up at town meeting by folks who, you know, were questioning it and weren't supportive. So we actually are undertaking and reaching out to some communities who have now adopted the specialized code. Some anecdotal information that we've received, and again, it's only anecdotal, is that it hasn't affected development, and that development is proceeding. Maybe not as great as it was 4 years ago before a lot of other things happened, but that we have no control over. But certainly there are communities where, you know, development is happening, some affordable housing has been built. So it is on our list of things to do, to have that kind of information available for town meetings so that we can address the issue directly. And also to recap what we already knew from a year ago in terms of, yes, as Mike said, will there be some initial upfront costs? Yes, they're not overwhelming. But again, if you look at the life cycle and if you look at the life expectancy, you start to recoup those costs in, you know, several years out. So we're gathering all that information because I think that was the primary concern of folks at town meeting last March.
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
Good, thanks, Andrew. Other questions, Chris?
Yeah, I just want to build on this conversation we're having about town meeting, because I'm curious what your committee will do and what you might need from us or staff to either change the narrative, give this information that we're collecting to residents who are going to hopefully attend town meeting. So do you have any game plan in mind about, you know, getting the information out there? How you want to approach this to see that we can get it over the finish line this time?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I would say at a high level, we plan to pursue a similar game plan as last time with, you know, hopefully having the select board initially support the idea of bringing this to a specific town meeting, and working with town staff to facilitate sharing information. So we had multiple information sessions last time. We would do something similar, you know, highlight information on the town website, which we put on our committee. So I think, you know, some similar information as that. And Andrea, is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of different or specific game plan for how to be successful with town meeting?
That, and I think we've also talked about doing something with WestfordCAT this time that we didn't do, so that there can be something running on WestfordCAT that's out there. And really just, you know, doing a lot of public education like we did last time, and, you know, hopefully, you know, educating the public a little bit more than they were last time. And as Mike said, meeting with, you know, all the town committees that have any sort of stake or interest in it. And certainly, your support and help will be greatly appreciated.
I think that's
Yeah, I just want to finish up with the board before we go to comments.
I think were you
Beth, you had something on this? Okay,
Yeah.
please, Beth. Yeah.
I think you were asking about what help might be needed to overcome some of the concerns that came up at the last town meeting about the specialized code. And I don't know if you remember, but we've all rewatched the video. That there were concerns brought up at meetings and then at town meeting about building codes or energy codes in general. I don't know if you remember this, but people were questioning if we sign up for the specialized energy code, the state can then change that in perhaps drastic ways. And that could affect everybody in this room. And really, I think it's a misunderstanding of what building codes and energy codes are all about, because we are currently on the stretch code, and that could also change, you know, at any point. So I guess what we might want help from town staff, especially, you know, our building inspector and our building department, is how to address those kind of general concerns about the fact that once you sign up for one of these codes, you know, the town might then just, the state might then drastically change things. And I know town council got up and tried to help out with that, but I think we could have had a stronger answer to that. It was one of the bigger complaints or issues that came up from people in town.
Yeah, certainly anything we can anticipate as questions, we can go through during the rehearsal run-up.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that belongs on an FAQ, we can look at that too. I'm sorry,
I
Chris.
think FAQ, but I also think this is definitely going to be one of those ones where we're going to want a presentation. So we're going to need to work with the town moderator to get that set up and to really dial that in for however many minutes she allots so that we can address some of these concerns. FAQs I think are going to be great. Hopefully people read them, at the floor of town meeting, but I think we've seen now in the past that having the presentation between either you and or staff will be, I think, very helpful to get this going in the right direction.
Yep, understood. Okay. It looks like we have questions, board. Any questions from the public related to this? Emily?
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. I don't have any questions. Hold on, there we go. But I have some comments to make. I think education of town meeting attendees is going to be so crucial. I know that last town meeting there was some fear that was generated by people making statements like, well, if you're renovating, this applies to you, which we know isn't true. But, when people are going to be knocking at your door and telling you have to comply, I mean, that kind of stuff we need to address early and often. And I think perhaps, Kristen, maybe for the next 3 months in your newsletter, assuming you all will approve this tonight, putting a little article about something related to becoming a climate leader town would be really effective. I'm also thinking like WestfordCAT could do videos of interviewing, you all talking about this and sort of keeping that on for the next few months so people could dial into that. And obviously information in the newspaper. But I think that's really important. And I also, as far as developers, we want the developers who are going to be building in this town to be building in a sustainable green way. We don't want to necessarily say, okay, we don't want to be a climate leader so we can have more development. That just doesn't make sense. And so we really want, I just drove by the Acton Police Department tonight and there's a huge building being built across the street on what was a pretty small lot. And it must be multi-family housing of some kind. I don't know if it's affordable or not, but other towns are having progress and development in their towns, and they have passed these codes. So I really encourage you all to do that. And I also did want to thank the select board for the new contract for POP, because we're spending less than we spent in the past 5 years. So it's really exciting. We have heat pumps, but we also are gold. And so, it's great that you renewed that contract and make that available to all the residents and businesses in town.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Carol, did I see you wanted to come to the mic?
Carol Morse, co-chair of Westford Climate Action. First, I want to commend the Clean Energy Committee for the work they have put into this, and really we owe them a big, round of thanks. And I have a request before I urge the select board to support this. And that is, I have seen a number of times at town meeting when something comes up for a vote, and of course my focus is always on clean energy, that someone comes up to speak for the select board, generally it's the chair, and they say that they have voted to approve of this. However, oftentimes there is no statement of the reasoning behind that. And I think that would go a long way to people that might be on the fence or looking to the select board for guidance. I really would urge you, I mean, these are really essential matters, clean energy and moving forward with this in our town. So if I could leave you with that, and again, I would, and also as a side note, in the topic of getting the word out to the town about the importance of this measure. Westford Climate Action, we've been doing that for almost 6 years. And sometimes I feel like we kind of get, pushed over to the side. We're out there, we're writing letters to the editor, we're calling people, we are the advocacy arm of Clean Energy. So we are at your service. So again, please support this, it's very important.
Thanks, Carol. Any other comments? Okay. Do we want to go back to the last slide? Because I think that's the ask here tonight. So just for the board, we're going to come up on our endorsement recommendation on the couple requests that this group has.
Just trying to get this to run. It's a little bit slow tonight.
No problem. Okay, so the items here on the table are supporting of the decarbonization roadmap grant and then pursuing climate leader designation. So any questions or comments from the board before we sort of entertain moving to recommendation here? Really feel comfortable? Okay. I think we probably want to do those separately. Does that sound right to you, Kristen?
So we need one in terms to do the other. So we would need your approval to pursue climate leaders designation in terms of fleet, buildings, and specialized code in order to apply for the grant. That's a requirement of the grant.
Okay. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to endorse the pursuit of the Massachusetts Climate Leader designation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll further entertain a motion unless there's any discussion on the specific issue of applying for the grant. So I'll entertain that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So I guess, again, thank you, and it's very exciting. I think there's a lot of exciting things going on. Both, we've talked about the Blanchard Roof project, we've talked about moving on to some of the other energy efficiency projects, and this certainly fits right in there. So, and we appreciate your help. So, a few top items in our strategy in this category is solar siting plan, building audit, and fleet audit. And so we really appreciate you just dovetailing right into that and providing support with your committee's time and resources.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Appreciate the support. So just to clarify, I just want to, for staff's sake and our sake, are you endorsing going after the grant in March? Is that
Yes.
included in that
Yes.
support for the grant?
Yes.
Great. And then just clarifying pursuit of climate leader status, sort of consistent with the grant requirements to achieve status within a year, means it makes sense to apply for a climate leader community by December 2026. Is that accurate and consistent with your recommendation?
Yes, I think the intent of the motion was to endorse the plans presented.
Great, okay, great. Thanks for the specificity there. Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all. Any other comments from the board or questions before we move on to the next agenda? Yes,
Just
Sean?
logistically, will we see them before town meeting again?
Yes, because from what I take from your
Yeah.
vote today, you're asking for the specialized code to be on the town meeting warrant. And you will have a meeting with a recommendation to recommend that article at town meeting. So they would be before you when you're voting those recommendations.
Okay, all right.
And if there's a reason or question, please just let us know. We'd be happy to have you back.
Tom, I want to quickly thank Mike because Mike has been supporting the Clean Energy Committee and I know it takes a lot of work. He has been staying late evenings as well, providing all the information. So I want to thank him and his staff as well.
Great, thank you. Much appreciated, and we appreciate Mike, but it's always great to have that endorsement from you. So.
Yeah, so with that, we've been in joint session. I just wanted then, maybe can we pause to see if there's any other CEASE members who have any comments or questions?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Now that we're here. So anyone else from CEASE in the room or online have any other comments or questions? If not, then we can adjourn. Okay, so I'll take a motion. Okay, and a second? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand to adjourn CASC. And I think we're good, and I think there's no one online to take a position, so we're adjourned. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Thank all of you. Okay, we are moving to our 7:25 item, old new business. So, sorry, what am I saying, 6:25?
I know, we're an hour earlier.
Yeah. Old new business. The first up is a request from the Pedestrian Safety Committee to add a high school student membership seat for a term to expire June 30, 2026. As of earlier today, I think we're still looking for the volunteer.
So we have Tom Hinkle here,
Oh,
the
okay.
chair.
Great, Tom, yeah, please come on.
Tom, did you ride your bike here this evening?
Afraid not.
Let me down.
Good, welcome, Tom.
Thanks.
Okay, so as of our call earlier today, Kristen, I think we did not have a volunteer form.
So I think there's 3 actions. So
Yep.
the Pedestrian Safety Committee has asked to add a high school student membership seat to their committee, so we could
Yep.
act upon that.
Yes.
Then I believe that they have an interested student. I'm not sure if they're in the room this evening.
I think so.
Okay. But I'm not sure if they've properly submitted their volunteer activity form. And then there's also 2 open seats for 18 and over, and I believe that the Pedestrian Safety Committee is requesting that we appoint Raymond Hickey as the full member for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. And my understanding is that if we add a student seat, we would need to announce the seat and give time for other people to apply for the seat before we appointed someone to that seat.
Yes. Okay. So why don't we take those in order? So first, why don't we entertain the request to add a high school student membership seat?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that went quick. So, so I think Tom and everybody listening, we have been working hard to try to increase the sort of access and equity of town committee positions. So we are trying to follow the process that we've outlined to the best of our ability. There are times when we have to make an exception, but in general, what we're trying to do is just what you described, Tom. We're trying to advertise any opening, give multiple people a chance to apply, have them fill out the volunteer form, and have them go through some sort of process within your committee before the recommendation arrives. So from what you said earlier, I guess is your then intent to go ahead and open up that process for this newly opened seat for the high
Yes.
school student? Okay. So we wouldn't be acting on that tonight?
Correct.
Okay. And then there's, I guess, a process question, Tom. So if you've got 2 positions to fill and you're recommending 1, does that mean you had 1 applicant, or what's the process flow, I guess, that led us here?
So, yeah, so my process has been when we get somebody who fills the form out, I reach out to them, have a conversation, invite them to come to a meeting. So I've had numerous conversations. We have 1 applicant who has made it to a meeting. So that was the bar that was cleared, was
Okay.
like follow-up conversation, coming to a meeting. If we only had 1 opening, I might feel hesitant about applying it, like about filling it right away, because I have other people that I've had initial conversations with, but who haven't been able to make it to a meeting or to have a follow-up conversation. But filling the seat would still leave another seat open, and so I guess I would think we should just fill the seat. If we,
I'll
you know.
also add, I mean, we did hear from Karen Hudson, long-serving member who she's retiring, so that's going to open up another seat, and our alternate, Jessica, has moved from the town, right? And so
Correct.
she's no longer, so we actually have 4 open seats at this point,
Right.
Okay.
so.
So as I understand it, one thing would be to advertise all these open seats, go through a full process, so that everyone make a recommendation, but at this point, you don't feel like there's we're not shutting off any doors to anyone else who's interested in this committee by filling this seat, and being able to meet quorum is important too, and so you're proposing to. go
Correct.
forward with this.
No, and I apologize. We've been through a bit of a roller coaster because we had, feels like a year ago, we had, or maybe a little over, we had some interested people, thought we had a seat, realized we didn't have an opening, and then we said, well, gee, we should expand because we have these. So we opened up some more seats that had been liaison seats. And now I'm just trying to find someone to fill those seats. So,
Okay.
it's like,
Okay, I think I understand the situation. Any other questions from this group? So it's slightly different from the normal process, but understandable in the circumstance, at least from my point of view.
I mean, where you say it's not.
Well,
Where-
another way
where
this
is it
could run is
missing?
if, my understanding is that there were 2, and we advertised for 2, and there's some people that are still in the process of being evaluated.
I mean, I think, just because they've been given invites to meetings, and they haven't had the ability to show up, doesn't mean that we're not following the process. and to Tom's point, like if there was only one spot available, I think maybe we'd be a little bit more concerned about giving everybody an opportunity to show up, but I don't know if we can hold up for months on end just to beat somebody's schedule to get to a meeting, you know what I mean?
So first of all, I don't disagree. I'm going to be in support of doing this.
Yeah.
But we've just gone through two situations where we identified a batch of seats that were open, and then we asked those committees to go through and execute the full interview and selection recommendation process for the batch of open seats.
That's what we're attempting to do. If an applicant doesn't show up at the meeting, then we can't force them to show up, is my point, right? So Tom had given them the opportunity to come to the next meeting. They chose not to for whatever reason. One applicant who did show was interviewed, so.
Okay, I think we're in violent agreement that this is probably fine.
Yeah.
And I may have misunderstood a little bit. It sounded like there was still an ongoing part of the process, but in any case, I think we can, if it's the will of the committee to go ahead and fill this open seat, we can certainly proceed. So it seems like we're in consensus, so I'll entertain a motion to appoint Raymond Hickey as a full member for a term to expire June 30, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, great.
Just Tom, point
Yep.
of clarification, for the student seat, is that a voting position or not? Do we know the legality on that?
If the pedestrian safety committee would like it to be a voting position, they may create it as they may ask you to create it as a voting position. My intention was it was going to be a
Okay, I
voting
didn't know if we
position.
needed to specify that as part of the motion, because I kind of.
I think if it's an alternate position or a liaison, that's non-voting. If it's a position, it's technically a voting position.
Like school committees, they're student liaisons, so to speak. or student-
Liaisons, right.
I don't know if they're liaisons or they're actually committee members, but I know they can't vote.
They can't vote, they're not elected, school committee's elected,
So that's the reason
so
why. Okay, so just to clarify, this will be an elected.
this will be an
Sorry,
appointed
this-
voting seat.
This is a voting.
They can vote, sorry.
I think what we created is a voting seat, a regular
Yes,
membership seat.
that's all I want to clarify.
Yes,
Okay,
yep,
thank you.
that's great.
That is great, okay. Review and discuss the board and committee appointment process. I guess we've been sort of doing that. Tom, do you have any other questions or comments about
So
that?
this was really related to Mike Berlinski's email.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's
Tom, we can
separate
get those
issues, so-
appointment, we can get that appointment out
All right.
for Raymond Hickey, and you'll get a copy of that, and then we will add the high school seat to our database and advertise that this month as well.
Okay, and is that all happens through the town, or is that something
Yes.
I need to do?
We will do that.
All right, excellent. So maybe we'll have a plethora of students interested.
And then you would invite them to your next meeting, interview them, and then select a candidate for that seat.
All right, I look forward to that. Excellent. All right.
Good, thanks, Tom. Unless you have any other questions?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Excellent.
Okay, now that Kristen's pointed me in the right direction, next up is to review and discuss the board and committee appointment process. And I think this relates to a question that Mike had around, I guess the overhead burden or the potential cumbersomeness of this.
Right, so we've had the board and committee appointment process live, I would say, for the past 3+ months. Our office has been working with various committee chairs to make sure that they are following the appointment process as you laid that out, and preparing with the board and committee chair the memos that come to you when you're doing a board and committee appointment. Mr. Belinsky has brought to our attention that in some instances, it's his opinion, and please restate if I'm missing something, that the look back for the 2 years of the volunteer activity form may seem onerous on some boards and committees. So we thought, Chair Clay thought that at this point in time, maybe we come back and just revisit the board and committee appointment process. Have we heard any other feedback? Is there anything we want to change, or are we good with this and could revisit at another point in time? So I believe that that's the impetus of this agenda item this evening.
Yeah, so I guess first, any other concerns that people have heard around the process? I mean, frankly, it is more work, but it's for a purpose, which is to try to make sure we're engaging as many people as possible, which is one of our strategic objectives, and that we're sort of not having the default sort of reappointment process that we and other organizations sometimes fall into. I guess there's a specific question about whether, a 2-year look back is what's required. I don't know, any feelings here amongst, I think, John, I saw your hand first.
Well, you do it just 1 year, that means if you apply or you put your name in, you have to do it again. People who are volunteering, they have to if you do that every year, it's only got a 1 year look back. I think a 2 year look back seems reasonable to me. I mean, that's my
I think the reason that emerged is because there were people who were serially applying who wanted to be notified. So I'm agreeing with you that that's where the 2 year came from. Any other strong feelings about it? Yeah, Chris?
Yes, I'm sorry, I disagree. So as a chair, that is going to be doing this very shortly because I just got an application. I do think, this is for Parks and Rec, 2 years is probably 12 or so, applicants that you're going to have to reach out to. And if reaching out is, okay, get 12 email addresses from town manager's office and send out an email, and that's that. If they reply, great. If they don't, done my due diligence, that's fine. Maybe that's sufficient. But if it's really try to get through to these people, multiple emails, then trying to get them to meetings, and sometimes people can make it to meetings, sometimes they can't, right? So, to this point with what we just went through with pedestrian safety, how many meetings do you sort of queue up before you say, okay, enough is enough, I need to make a decision? In some cases, we do have some boards and committees where it's very competitive and maybe we need to really take the time. And others, we're struggling to make quorum in some cases, at some times in the lifetimes of some of these committees. And I think I think a balance is necessary here. I do agree with Mike, 2 years is a lot for certain committees, particularly ones that are popular and you do get a lot of applications for. But I would think as a nice first step, we would lower it to at least a year and see how that goes. And if we get people complaining that they weren't getting, notified and didn't feel like they had opportunity, then maybe we revisit it. But I think we should err on the side of concerns from the chairs of some of these committees that have to do this work and are already volunteers, and see how that goes, would be my suggestion.
Okay. Just from a process flow point of view, which end of the spectrum does the policy give direction towards that Chris described? Does the policy basically advise that they notify people who are in the 2 year look back pool so that they understand? So we're not asking that they hold up their process so that until they've got a positive response or something. Basically, we consider them following the spirit of it if they notify and invite people to rejoin the process.
Right.
Okay. So that doesn't seem too particularly burdensome, but I mean, I hear you, but
Yep.
I mean, to send 12 instead of 6, I mean, if someone raised their hand and said they were interested. I'm just saying that it's not that often that these things come up. So it's not like there have been 15 committee appointments during the 2 year window. There's probably only been 1 or 2 times that something was being filled, right?
Potentially.
So, okay, anyway, other questions?
Do we have a policy that says if you volunteer, you have to renew your volunteer statement every now and
Yes,
then?
so if your term is about to expire, you do need to re-up your volunteer activity form for reconsideration. That's part of the policy.
But you're not on a committee. You volunteer for one. Or you send in the form.
Yep.
And then does it have an expiration date that says if there's no activity within a year, you have to reapply, or?
Well, no, we're essentially making it 2 years.
Right now, it's 2 years. Right now, it's 2 years.
Any other questions? Sounds like the topic at hand is a 1 year look back versus a 2 year look back.
Well, but also, so not to make it more complicated, but are we applying this to people who are renewing versus new requests? So if I have somebody who's been on the board for 4 years or 3 years and their term is coming up, I think the policy right now is saying that they have to reapply, and we have to go back and do the 12 2 years, and notify everybody that in 2 years that you can come back and ask for an appointment and be considered for an appointment. And in some cases, we have boards that, for whatever reason, have seven seats that might be up at the same time, which I know we're trying to fix, but that's going to be a challenge, right? And so I don't know if we want to address that that aspect.
At least in my memory, the reason that we adopted the idea that everyone should reapply was to sort of get away from maybe the kind of automatic renewal without public notification, which limits people's a chance to participate.
Yep.
So it would be a pretty significant change, I think, if we said, no, we're not going to do that now.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
I just tried to reduce the amount of, in both cases, the amount of people we have to notify. Again, I think if you're not been involved in over a year, the chances are you're going to want to be involved as slim to none. But I think if the clarification is all we're doing is a simple email, and if the person's email bounces back or they don't respond within, I don't know, a week or two, we call that due diligence, then that's probably okay. Mike, what's your thoughts on that? Seem reasonable?
Yeah, if I could.
Yeah, please.
Share my comment. So what I was thinking is, from the resident's perspective, then they're going to get an email from me every time someone applies to my committee, and as chair of Clean Energy Sustainability Committee, even if they don't welcome it. Right. So that was one thing that I was thinking, is this person from a year and a half ago who did or did not pursue the position after applying for it is getting an email from me every time someone applies. So that might be annoying for them. I was also thinking it's burdensome for me to have such a long look back and to email so many people. So those are some of my concerns. But I agree with what I heard you say, is that it's really not a big deal. So I'm not so concerned, but that was the impetus of my feedback.
Yeah, I would think that if you had positive knowledge that someone was no longer interested, we wouldn't require you to automatically gen up emails. I don't know if the law.
If we had an email that says they're no longer interested, we could take them out of the database for having a valid volunteer activity.
Yeah, I think that we certainly shouldn't expose you and the person who's no longer interested with sort of spam. So I don't know if people feel comfortable making that sort of amendment to the policy as it is. If someone positively responds, like, I'm no longer interested,
Yeah.
fair enough. They're no longer. We're no longer obligated, or the policy no longer will ask that they reach out. Okay, thanks. That's great.
Thank you. I think I might have said that in my feedback, is some sort of qualification about, what makes that pool of folks. It can be a look back, but also a statement of interest or no longer interest, I think, would be appropriate.
Okay.
So I appreciate that consideration. And I just want to say, what you didn't say from my feedback is, I think it's great to have a written policy. So thank you for making a written policy. As a chair, I do appreciate that.
Great, thanks, Mike. Okay, so are we in consensus with sort of the updated understanding of what the obligation is, plus the understanding that if someone has at some point said they're no longer interested, we can take them off the list?
So will it be up to town manager's office to maintain that sort of opt-out? Okay. So the chair would say, oh, this person's emailed me, doesn't want to be part of this anymore, can you please take them off the list? Okay. Sounds good?
Okay, great. Sounds like we're in consensus. Okay.
Tom?
Yes, yeah, Emily.
Does the volunteer application form say that this will be considered an active application for 2 years? So does the person filling it out know that that's kind of what the case is?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
I don't think it probably does. I don't think it obligates them to anything. It just makes the default that if they've applied before, we want them to be aware that there's another seat available, and ask them to join in the process if they're interested.
Maybe that should be on the form. Some kind of,
Okay.
Give them information that they don't have by filling out the form, I guess is what I was saying.
Yeah, I think we could take that suggestion that we should let people know that their request will remain live for 24 months unless they ask for it to be removed.
And also the chairs, I think in the new process, you're wanting the chairs to communicate directly with people, and hopefully if they're interested, talk to them, right?
Yes, the idea is you're inviting people into the process.
Right.
If they respond, great, then you enter a dialogue.
And so would you talk to them before you ask them to come to a meeting, potentially?
I think different chairs probably would handle that in different ways, Emily. So
Okay.
the policy doesn't go that deep.
Okay.
And so I know different committees probably have different ways that they invite people and recruit them and ask them to be part of the committee.
I was just thinking the chair would know, if they talk to somebody, they would know within 2 years, those few people they've talked to, but anyway. And then my third comment or question is, have you all taken it into advisement, since you're the appointing body, about the clean energy and sustainability and the behavioral health committees, all of whom the terms expire on the same day? No, I brought that up before.
Yeah, we are looking at that with the clerk's office and making recommendations to split the terms.
Yeah, we're gonna try to move everything to staggered terms, but you're right, if you have a cold start for a committee, ideally at the cold start point, you would have staggered them. We didn't do that, so now we're gonna have to implement some sort of staggered terms.
Well, no blaming here, but I also think it would be, if possible, it'd be nice to ask the people on the committee if they would, what terms they would want at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's impossible, but that'd be a
That's,
nice thing.
yeah, no, thank you, Emily, and we did do that with one other committee, so we will ask for guidance about if we are in a position of saying,
We don't
so
want
there's
this
5
committee to
people up for
end.
renewal,
Yeah,
and some are gonna be 2 years, some are 3 years, so we would take guidance from the committee about who would prefer to be in a 2-year versus a 3-year.
thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Emily. All right, we are up to 6:35, minutes for approval. Any questions about the minutes before I entertain a motion to waive the reading of them? Oh, no, that's not what I'm doing right now. Okay. Okay, no questions, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 18th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board reports and updates. So I think this whole idea of inviting committees in to brief has been really successful, and I think that's a great way that we're addressing this important board update portion. Any board updates or board reports or updates from the board tonight? Chris?
So, last Monday was the open space and recreation plan public input session that was held at the fire station down the street. It was extremely well attended. Thanks very much to one of our 8th grade middle school teachers who I think incentivized his students to come and attend. So we had a large number of Westford students there, which is always great to see. They had 4 boards set up in which they were taking feedback on 4 different categories. Just a high-level summary. You know, folks really resonated around the need to have more indoor and year-round recreation opportunities, indoor facilities like things that provide indoor courts, pools, ice rinks. We've heard this before. They want to see more trails, sidewalks, and connections between the two. We're working on that. Concerns about accessibility, so they want to make sure that we try to include ADA accessible features whenever practical. Some interesting levels of support for, I should say interesting, but levels of support for lighting and dark skies considerations. And, we just did 2 big lighting projects and wanted to make sure that we continue to utilize best practices when, doing projects like that, and not just in the design and implementation, but also in operation. So making sure that we're, using those systems to the best of our ability to maintain dark skies. So a lot of really great feedback. There's another session on Tuesday, January 27th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. on Zoom this time. So if people didn't attend this last one, they can attend via Zoom for the next one.
Thanks, Chris. And I wish I could remember the social studies teacher at, I think it's at Blanchard, that has been incentivizing the students, because we had a huge turnout at Veterans Day.
Is it Parker?
It's Mr. Parker, yes.
It's Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Yeah, really, really outstanding.
It was a great night, lots of good energy there.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, that's great. Well, good. Thanks, Chris. Any other board reports or updates tonight? Okay, Kristen, town manager's report.
All right, so last meeting, you were giving accolades to the group for the Grove Street reconstruction with our water main break. Now we pay the bills for that amount of work. So the first purchase order is for KS Carroll Excavating for the repair assistance on Grove Street in the amount of $14,000 as requested by the water department. Newport Construction for repair assistance on the Grove Street project in the amount of $48,206.46 as requested by the Public Works Department. The next is CDW-G for our Microsoft licensing in the amount of $155,562.91 as requested by the Technology Department. A portion of that is paid by ARPA, as noted in your memo. And then we were able to identify a pumper truck for the fire department. So the next purchase order is for Allegiance Fire and Rescue for the Pierce Saber 1500 pumper in the amount not to exceed $1 million as requested by the fire department. The cost of that pumper, just pull that up, has come in.
820,000.
It is 820,000, and then the rest, remaining 180,000 will go towards purchasing radios, lettering, and other associated equipment. And then in terms of contracts, we have Allstate Berm Company and Eddie's Handyman Service for LLC for the plow services for calendar year 2025 and 26 for winter season as requested by Public Works. Zen City for a 3-year contract in the amount of $48,000 as requested by the Town Manager's Office. And Dynamic Control Technologies LLC for fiscal year 26, the VFO Energy Efficiency Project in the amount of $529,625 as requested by the Facilities Department. You do have an updated memo on that project at your place setting now.
And we did have a typo, VFDs.
VFDs, okay.
And no dollar sign by $1 million.
Correct.
That's true. It could be $1 million of anything.
Exactly.
$1 million donuts, $1 million pieces of paper. Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Well, on the pumper, it says, according to this letter from the chief, he's going to use the remaining $180,000 for radios and other associated equipment. Is that just tied to that pumper, or are those radios for other uses?
They'll be installed in that pumper.
So that's for the installation
So
of the
it's
pumper.
fit up just for
Yes,
that pumper.
fit up for the
Okay.
pumper truck, yes.
And the other questions I had on the in-city contract, as I read that thing, it says that their contract, when it's the terms and conditions in their contract document is enforceable. It takes precedent over terms and conditions. Is that our terms and conditions they're talking about?
So as I alluded to in my memo, we still have town council reviewing that contract. We're not comfortable with the contract that they gave us, so that's currently under review, but we do need to get that signed by December 31st in order to get this pricing locked in. So if you would like me to share that contract once it's final with town council.
I'm concerned about, well, first of all, they also have an automatic renewal in their contract that says in 3 years, unless we notify them 60 days ahead of time or something like that, it's going to renew.
That's probably not.
And so my thinking is, my concerns is we're signing on to a contract, and we need to make sure that first we can do that.
Right.
But the other part was just, and then they had some provisions in there, they had some appendix in there. They talked about the European Union.
Right,
UK,
we're taking that
all
out. So that was everything that they submitted initially. We're going back and forth with
Okay.
council now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I knew town council was looking at it, but I had some concerns about just the way that thing read.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions about correspondence tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading of correspondence. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy holidays, Westford. Stay safe.
Thank you.